There he is. God, coming to deliver the Olympic torch.
Encourage me. Sorry, I'm late.
You're early.
I'm sorry. I'm early?
I'm late. I'm dad.
No. Okay. Whew, thank God.
All right. Well, I should use this. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming this early. We really appreciate it. This is the Virtual Spaces panel. Each of us panelists have been involved in the online sphere, especially during the pandemic, and foster online communities, online-based communities with video game music as a vehicle. So I think we should start by introducing ourselves, starting on this end and working our way this way.
All right. Hello, I'm Katajun. I also go by Austin. I run Dwelling of Duels, which is a monthly video game remix competition that's been going on since 2003. I've been running it since 2017. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah! Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nujj. I am one of the directors of VGM Together, and I also moderate for a million VGM streamers, and I run a community called Swag Fam.
All right. I'm Brandon. I started Virtual Video Game Orchestra in March of 2020. I'm also in the Twitch VGM community. What else do I do? God, I can't think of anything. You next.
And he's got great hair.
Hi there, I'm Jacob, or Finney, or whatever you want to call me, I don't care. I started Virtual Video Game Orchestra with this fool over 2.5 years ago in March. I also do dub music for Zelda Universe, recreating their music and directing that kind of bit. So yeah.
And I'm Josh, and I run Bonus Stage. We typically host monthly video game and chiptune and nerdcore and nerd adjacent music concerts once a month. And we also host listening parties for album releases and do some gaming too.
Love that 3D pinball Space Cadet.
So yes, yeah, lots of pinball representation for sure.
Fun for everybody. Okay, so
Shuffle in, shuffle in.
welcome. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here and choosing to be here instead of sleeping in. We really appreciate it. So I suppose we should do a round of how did each of your organizations get started? What was the impetus for it? And how has that evolved to today? So let's start again over here.
Oh boy.
2003, good Lord.
Yeah, the story, now I wasn't around for the origin of Dwelling of Duels, but I've heard the story many times. There was two guys on a forum who were arguing about who was better at playing guitar. They decided to have a contest. Neither of them entered, but 3 other people did, and that's how Dwelling of Duels started. And it's kind of just evolved since then with, a bunch of people that around that time when music production was really, really new and fresh. Just a bunch of high school kids on a forum. We're just having a lot of fun, recording tunes, remixing stuff, and just trying to out-shred each other. Dwelling of Duels specifically has a rule, a guideline that one of the main instrument of the song has to be performed live, and that usually means guitar, but more recently it's been more horns and brass and harp and all these kind of things. And that was kind of originally to go against the grain of OC Remix and all that stuff, where it was always synthesizers clicked in, things like that. And, these people thought they were better than any of these digital EDM producers because they could play guitar, which, who knows if that's true or not. But yeah, and DoD has it's lasted a long time. It's had a lot of ups and downs, a lot of changes of adminship over the 19 years that it's been running. And then really during the pandemic, when that was when we were in sort of a slump coming into 2020, where we were getting single-digit entries per month. And then, everyone had a lot of time all of a sudden for some reason, and we're able to submit us stuff. And we've just skyrocketed. We're getting more entries than we ever have before. Our Discord's blowing up. It's a lot of fun. We've got a huge new influx of new members. That's been really awesome to have.
Yeah.
Did I answer the question?
I have one quick question. What is DOD tone?
Oh my God, the DoD tone. So that goes back to like the original like 2000s era, right? When nobody knew how to get good tones with like digital stuff, or it was some guy who puts a microphone up like right against the grill of his tiny like 1-inch practice speaker, right? And it's just like, it's a nostalgic tone because of how bad it is, right? It's that crappy guitar tone that like is way too shrill, too much highs, and it's an amateur tone, I guess, is really what it is.
My turn?
Yeah, it's all you.
So, for people who really love video game music, the places where we would always congregate would be places like MAGFest. And places like that were really, really important to us. And during the pandemic, all of a sudden, we didn't have access to that anymore. And the virtual space that I was most involved in at that point was Doug Perry's stream, because I mod for him. And I noticed that people weren't just coming for the music. They were coming for a sense of community. They were coming there to, find people who like the same things they do, say hello to each other. They're familiar faces, they're screen names, but you get to know everybody. And from there, that's where I created a smaller kind of like online community called Swag Fam, where we're all very silly and normal. Like that guy over there in the trash bag.
Yeah.
Keep him there. So we really built a strong community there. It was all virtual, it was all through Discord. And when MAGFest got canceled, we were all pretty sad about it. So the other swag streamers and I were like, oh, well, we'll just make our own little con for our friends and we'll call it Swagfest. And that was the point where MAGFest was doing their Mag Telethon and raising money because they were not in person anymore. And we were like, okay, we'll take all the proceeds and we will donate it to MAGFest. And so we had our little silly Swagfest. It was just really for our friends. We did stuff on Twitch, we did games on Discord, we gave out prizes. It was really fun. And then I was talking to Doug Perry, who is the other director of VGM Together, and we were kind of in a sadder place. He had been working with Laura and Travian, all these amazing people to create Line Them Up, which was this amazing musical production.
Woo, yeah.
Like 40 minutes of like a billion musicians, and they were supposed to go to MAGFest to premiere it, and it just wasn't going to happen. And we had a lot of hard conversations about how we felt really isolated and how we really didn't have a space anymore where we felt like we could all congregate. And I was typing to him on Discord, and I was like, I don't know why I keep perseverating on it, because there's really nothing I can do about it. And at that point, he had been out for a run. So a little while later, he came back, he read what I said, and he wrote, actually, I think you can. And I was like, okay.
Hear that in his voice.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you can.
And then, so he's like, can I call you? And then we talked for a while, and at first I didn't really realize the scope of what he wanted to create, but I think he really believed that with all the skills we had gained during the pandemic, like running Twitch streams, running Discord servers, that we could pull all the skills that we've learned and our friends have learned and put together something really big. And we did. We did our 3-day convention, and it was all virtual. It was through Twitch, Discord, VR chat. There were amazing people who had already recreated the Gaylord Hotel where the where main MAGFest takes place, and they had created it kind of like for MAGFest, the first one that got canceled, they weren't able to then use it for anything. And Doug was friends with some of them. And so he was like, hey, you know what, we're trying to do something like that. Maybe we could use that space. And it ended up being really amazing, where they themed it all for VGM Together, and we really had a feel that you could go there with your friends, despite being in different countries, despite being, you know, wherever you are, whenever you are, whatever time it is, like your friends are, it's like they're right next to you. And we had 3 days of panels, 3 days of music, and it really felt like a convention. And we weren't sure where the future of it would go, because it was born of the pandemic for a time where we couldn't be in person. And after the convention, we put out like surveys, like, you know, like what could be better? What did you like? Just so we would know. And a lot of the feedback we got was that, you know, like, this was my first convention ever. I couldn't go to conventions before because I have, you know, like a physical disability. I am too far away. I think it's too expensive to go to these things. That was the kind of feedback that we weren't expecting, but by creating this, we had created an accessible space for people to come and be together in a real video game music convention, and sometimes for the first time. And so that's why we're going to do it again this October. So.
Woo!
Yeah. Well, record So, Jacob and I started Virtual Video Game Orchestra in March of 2020 for very similar reasons. I, at the time, had just gotten laid off. I was living in Berkeley, working in SF. I was playing in the intermission orchestra at Berkeley, not as a student, just as somebody from the community. And we had our last concert on March 6th, 2020. And we were still figuring out on that day, is this happening? Is the University of California going to cut this, pull the rug out from under us? Luckily that didn't happen, and no one got sick as a result. But immediately after that, everything just slammed shut. And so I was thinking, I had been part of Eric Whitaker's virtual choir a million years ago. And I was thinking, is that model feasible for an orchestra? Can VGM be used as a vehicle for that? Just so that my friends and I can play stuff again. And with the knowledge that, oh, well, there are more of these groups. I went to undergrad in Reno and was part of the Reno Video Game Symphony there. So I was like, maybe we can get some of those people together, some of these people in Berkeley together, some people at the Intermission Orchestra at UCSD together, and others that were around that nobody out here was really aware of. Got in contact with you, despite not playing in any of these orchestras. Got in contact with a bunch of people really, really quickly. And within, 2 weeks, we had sheet music.
Less than a week.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we did a proof of concept in 2 days. Is this possible? It was. And we're like, okay, let's get an arrangement together immediately. Put music out there. We got 200 people in originally a Facebook group, and then we moved to Discord because it's way better.
It was a Facebook group, and we had started. It was in a Facebook group, and then we had started a Discord, and it was just like, do we want to use Discord? Do we want to continue using Facebook? And one of our executive directors, Jackson, he was like, well, let's use Slack. He swears by Discord now.
Yeah, so we started this thing, and we put together a rendition of Snake Eater, sung by my friend Joey, who, if you're going to the MAGWest Orchestra, which is just after this, she'll be singing as well. I highly encourage all of you to see that. It's going to be awesome. And it is really the first time that Virtual Video Game Orchestra is putting on an event in person, because we've only been online until now. But throughout the past 2.5 years, the community of the orchestra has grown to 1,200 people in a Discord server. It's insane. People from literally everywhere, every corner of the globe. playing every instrument under the sun that you can imagine and more. Stuff that not only had I never heard of, but nobody who was on our productions ever heard of. And we put out 15 music videos, and the production value has just skyrocketed. Has anybody seen those videos?
Yeah.
I could never have foreseen the number of very enthusiastic people who would come together for not just video game music, but because they feel a sense of duty to their community. And it was, I'm really at a loss for words. Very recently, I actually stepped down as executive director of the group. So Jacob and some very highly qualified other people are going to be continuing that forward. But over all of that time, I met some of the best people that I have ever met in my entire life. So, and video game music, if not for video game music, if not for that generally very insular orchestra scene, I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't know about any of this. I wouldn't have gone on Twitch and become part of those communities. It really has opened my eyes to a world that I absolutely fell in love with. So I'm really grateful to everybody then, everybody throughout that, and everybody now, and all of you sitting here, that I can even be up here doing this. So that's mine. Do you have anything to add?
Oh.
Okay.
Thank you for your service, Ranja. Okay, I'm up. Yeah, so I guess the idea, like the original concept behind the Twitch streams on Bonus Stage was actually originally for my band, the Runaway 4. We had like come off tour with Kirby's Dream Band in the summer of 2019, and we just like, I wanted us to like have a way to connect with a lot of the people that we met, a lot of the broader VGM community, which is just super huge and super inclusive and just really lovely. It was kind of like harsh to end tour and be like, God, we're not doing that right now. And so I was kind of like inspired by what the Super Soul Bros had done with their Twitch streams. They were doing regular Sunday streams back in the day. And I was like, I wonder if there's a way that we can coordinate with some other bands that we like to, you know, who are like stream capable and put on like a concert. And like this was all predating COVID too. So I was doing some tests and just trying to like work around how to do it. And we were lining up to do the first one in February 2020 actually. And or no, I think we were like getting ready for March, and we had like this Facebook group going, and we were like, oh, who's like down to do it? We had like some good bands that were like ready, and then just like lockdown hit, and like Runaway 4 couldn't get together. I know a lot of the other bands were like, no, we're just gonna play it safe, so we can't commit. But there were still like a good number of like one-person acts who were able to come through. So I just like went ahead and put on the show anyways, and that was the original virtual VGM Fest, subtitle Social Distancing, or something like that. It was a joke at the time, right? Everyone's like, oh, social distancing, that sounds wacky. And that, yeah, that first show just got a lot of really good reception. A lot of people came through. Nujj, like you were saying, just like people wanted to come together and have that sense of community. So yeah, it was just like really well received. And Ian Cowell, who's performing later, he was like one of the first acts, and he was like the last one of the night. And like he just kind of said it live on stream. He's like, Josh, this is incredible. Like, you've got to do this again. And I just like kind of maybe foolishly in the moment was like, you know what, you're right. I'm going to do this every month and not punch the table. That hurt. And yeah, and then I just like...
Yeah, we're not in a virtual space anymore.
I know, I can't just like punch things without consequences. Yeah, that's different. And so, yeah, I just, I started putting them together every month and reaching out to lots of acts and stuff like that, connecting with a lot of artists that I wouldn't really know otherwise. And yeah, people have still loved to do it. And then I started adding like listening parties in. I think like a couple of friends approached me like, hey, I've got this thing, I've got this idea for like a listening party. Let's like put it together. Like, okay, that's cool. So that was also really well received. So I'm still doing that as they come, not like kind of, hey, I've got to do this once a month. Who's got a new album? But yeah, I've just been like experimenting with different show formats and stuff like that, and just keeping it going.
Hell yeah. Sick. All right. So the next point on here says, I mean, now that we've explained like what the impetus for each of our groups is, the pandemic definitely changed quite a lot of things, and now that the world is quote unquote getting closer to back to what it used to be before, I know, Katajun, you mentioned that that DoD has more participation now than it ever did, and where I don't know if you can even say, but where do you see that going?
Well, I'm hoping that it stays positive, right? And I mean, like even with things opening back up, like we had a huge spike from like March, April, June, May, all that stuff of 2020, and it's kind of kept going. So it wasn't just like all of a sudden like, oh, we can't do anything, let's submit music for DoD. But it's been like continuous and kind of like swelled under its own. It's like a snowball effect. That's what you call it. Because more people find out about it, more people are posting videos on social media or stuff like that, being like, hey, here's this cover that I did for Dwelling of Duels for this month. People find out about it, they come over and check out the contest and the community in there, and you know, we've been around for such a long time, and there have been some moderately famous people in the community who have participated at some point. Jake Kaufman, who was the composer for Shovel Knight and all those games, has a ton of awesome covers on DoD from like the 2007 era, right? Like Crystal Flash from Super Metroid and Blood of Ganon from like Legend of Zelda. Amazing covers, amazing stuff. Danimal Cannon had a bunch of, he will be the first to admit, like he cut his teeth on DoD and really learned how to hone his production. I guess part of the aspect of DoD that's so good is that all of the songs are presented anonymously during the listening parties and the voting phase. So you don't really know who submitted anything. You just have to judge it based on not about popularity, not about your friends' songs or anything like that. It's just about cut and dry, like how good's the arrangement, how good is the playing, how good is the mixing, the production, all that stuff. And so taking that criticism from being anonymous is really helpful for helping these artists to grow and to learn how to produce things. And we have a production thread in our Discord that is like, I can't keep up with it because it's just so much. People are like, blah, 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 compression, EQ, side chains, guitar tone, cab sims, neural DSP. It's all this stuff, just endless. And every single time I look in there, I learn something new because it's just so many people sharing their tips and tricks and wisdom and all that. And so definitely hoping my prediction is that we're gonna, at least stay at this level for a while. Judging by the history of things, there was like peaks and valleys, like I said. But hopefully this peak stays for a long time. And our 20th anniversary is next year. Wow. My first submission was for the 10-year anniversary. That was the first time I ever submitted anything for Dwelling of Duels. And so now I get to run it for the 20-year anniversary next year, which is just insane to think that a couple people arguing on an internet forum about who had the better guitar shredding skills has come up to this. We're trying to release a compilation CD. Like, we're trying to get it fully licensed and release a compilation album this year of some of the stuff from 2021, which has been talked about for such a long time but never actually happened, just because licensing issues and all that stuff. But myself and a couple other people from the community have been buckling down to try to put that out there, and hopefully that will also lead to more people coming out and finding these tracks on Spotify or things like that and being like, oh, Dwelling of Duels, that's crazy, what is it? I mean, the first way that I ever actually found Dwelling of Duels was we host a yearly listening party at MAGFest, and we're hosting another one today at MAGWest. I'll give more details on that later, but it's just on on the panels list, and it's always like a 4 or 5 hour panel from like 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. on like Thursday or sometimes Friday night. And that was the first time I ever saw Dwelling of Duels. I was like, who's hosting a 4-hour listening party at 1 a.m. at MAGFest? Thinking that it was like someone's album or something like that. And then eventually went home and checked it out because I heard about it so much more and realized it was a thing. And then, of course, next year I went and I had submitted by then. But yeah, I'm just hoping that DoD, it's been amazing just to see all the talent and the community that's come out of it. And, oh, hey, there's Nate. Hey, Nate. Nate did our banner art for Dwelling of Duels for years.
I have your jacket.
Yeah, I don't know where I was going with it, but Dwelling of Duels is awesome. Come check out. Even if you aren't a musician, just like the music we put out every single month is fantastic. Great stuff.
Awesome. Well, for Nujj, the question is always, VGM Together came together in 2 months. How the hell did you do that, and what's changing for this next one in October since you have ostensibly more time?
Yes, we do. I mean, even 3 months would be a lot more time than what we had before. But the first one, we kind of had a deadline because Line Them Up was supposed to be released at a certain time, and we wanted it to be big and we wanted it to be impactful. And so we reached out to some guy named Josh. And we're like, hey, you know how to do these online concert things? Like, do you think this is a realistic time frame? And he was like, yeah, you're
Sure.
fine.
Yeah.
Totally fine.
It's easy.
It's easy, you've got this. And I was like, okay, we can totally do this.
Like, how many hours of music was it? Like 30 some hours of content and overall?
Yeah, or more, I think.
Yeah.
Good God.
But thanks to Josh's expertise, he was our music lead during the first VGM Together. He worked with us, and we really could not have done it without everybody just buckling down for those 2 months, and that's all I did. I went to work, I stopped doing work, I started doing VGM Together stuff, and I fell asleep. I didn't see anybody. That's all I did for 2 months. And I know all of our leads put so much time into it. Josh did. Waz was right there. He did. He ran our community events. And it was just, everybody was so passionate about making it happen. It was almost like this feeling of like, everybody needs this. We need to make it happen. And we just did. We put all of our time, all of our energy into it. And it was a lot. And when it was over, we were all really, really, really happy with how everything turned out and how so many people decided to show up. We had no idea what to expect because obviously we had never done anything like this before. And just the number of people that came and gave us good feedback, we were blown away. And so we decided, like, we should do this again, but we should do this in a more sustainable manner. So we thought about a date that would work, and we planned backwards from there, and then, like, you know what? So that we don't burn ourselves out, like, let's plan for certain dates and give ourselves the time to really think things through and really enjoy ourselves. Because if this is something we want to continue long term, it cannot be something that is full steam ahead every single day forever.
Yeah.
It's just not possible. But
We're just quivering over here because we know the pain.
they do. But yeah, so this time we did a lot of things differently as well. Like, last time we didn't have time to, like, have applications or do anything or breathe or whatever. But
You just kind of jump in
Yeah.
and you're there.
But this time we're like, okay, we have the time. If we open up applications, maybe we'll get people we've never even heard of before. And we did. We got a lot of them. And we're really excited for the lineup because there are people who submitted applications from all over the world, and we would have never found them otherwise. So,
Would you say that you're excited to line them up?
wow.
Whoa.
Wow.
Fuck.
Yes.
I've gotten so little sleep. I'm just surprised that my neuron, my two remaining brain cells just connected right there.
In our internal Discord, we have a million puns going on because our theme for the next VGM Together is Breath of the Wild. And I don't know whether I'm allowed to say all the puns because some of them actually may turn up as events, but just be prepared. We have a lot of memers on our staff.
Well, I'll be holding my breath.
Oof.
Whoever groaned, thank you. I live for that. Oh, I appreciate that so much. I guess similar to your experience of jumping in and with Virtual Video Game Orchestra, we went full force into how are we going to produce all this stuff. Let's just get music together. Let's figure it out. Throw people in videos and see what we can do. And our first video, we had 98-ish, like nearly 100, just under 100 submissions. These are recording submissions, and one of the things that I wanted to make sure, my guiding principle with a lot of the virtual, with all of Virtual Video Game Orchestra stuff at the very beginning was, we want to take everyone. Doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what your musical background is. If you have a phone and are cool recording yourself, submit something. We'll have a click track for God's sake, but we have to have that. Please clap when we tell you to clap. It's like a Jeb Bush rally. Sorry. But yeah, it's we take now. The most recent project we had 600 submissions or so, 600 recordings in. And these are all separate. We're going to use all of them.
600 recordings, but over 800 files.
Yeah, 600 recordings, over 800 files from 130-ish, 140 musicians, roughly. Yeah, so the arrangements get huge because of all these instruments that people play. I find it always amazing. There's this one guy who's really active, based in Singapore, Sable Providence, who has played on was VGM Con's charity albums as well, and is really involved in pixel mixers. But Sable plays all these different kinds of random kinds of flutes from everywhere in the world, and just wants an excuse to play all of them, and just does. And then we just have to deal with 20 submissions from this guy playing the same part on different flutes, which is fun. I don't know. I can't really speak towards the audio team. That's your department. But from a video standpoint, which is I was one of the video directors. It's insane trying to think of how to fit everyone in and make sure everyone feels represented, because we want nothing more than to use absolutely everything we have and produce something that not only are we proud of, but something that everybody who participated finds pride in as well. And to the diehard fans, we want to respect the music for what it was. But the arrangement processes now I took 4.5 months to get a 5-minute track arranged with 100 parts in it. And it was not fun, but
It was an almost 8-month process for our latest project that we released.
Yeah, an 8-month process for this most recent one. We didn't put out any music, just for the arrangement, yeah. And then it was 3 months of recording and then nearly a year of post-production. But we have so much stuff parallelized that all through 2021, I don't know how we were able to do it, but we were putting out a video every 6 weeks. Somehow. And then in 2022, we put out one video, and it took 7 months. It was worth it. It was worth the wait. Yeah, so one of the guiding principles was we want to include as many people as we can. Doesn't matter if you're part of these VGM orchestras, or if you are another community member, or find us through a friend letting you know, hey, there's this cool online thing. that you can record for if you want to play some cool tunes. And I mean, I know that for the Golden Sun video we did. Any fans of Golden Sun in the audience? We have one.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I expected. Yeah, Golden Sun was a 2001 launch title for the Game Boy Advance, and I am slightly too young to have played it, very unfortunately. You're young, yeah, significantly more. Anyway, but there's this huge, there's a lot of huge enthusiasm from that community, despite it being very small and very niche. And the arranger for the track, Jonathan Shaw, or T&A, as you'll find him on YouTube, just has all these Golden Sun fans and who follow his channel, and was like, hey.
He rallied them all.
He rallied all of them. In a couple days, we got like 200 people to join our Discord server just from the Golden Sun community.
In the first week, our Discord server gained 400.
400? Okay, I'm misremembering then. But yeah, we got a stupid number of people, and a lot of them are still around. Actually, yeah, a great number of them are still around and still active. But it's always amazing to me to find all these people who come from all these different places using VGM as like a way to build community. And now we have, with all those 1,200 people, issues started coming up with scale. So what you're talking about with picking a deadline and working backwards from there. Oh man, we've tried that. We can't do it. Like if there's anyone else, if there's anyone out there who can help us, oh my God, I'll actually help you. Go for it.
Yeah. For season 1 and season 2, I was the one that was setting up like our schedule for like, this is the deadline we kind of want to hit. Every single one had a minimum of a 2-month extension to an 8-month extension.
Yeah.
I feel bad, but granted, we released some of the best projects I think the VGM community has ever seen.
Yeah.
You just gotta like be like Nintendo and be like, you know what? No, we'll just delay it until it's good. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the Golden Sun community was like, hey, are you going to be remaking the game because of like what you're able to do? And we're like, hey Nintendo. Hey, we can do this. You haven't released a Golden Sun title in 12 years, but I mean, we're down. In any case, yeah, the issues came up with scale. So we realized that like we need formalized production teams and we have applications. We tried doing that from the beginning, and have a group of about 40 people, I think.
We're at 40 people right now.
Yeah, 40 people or so who are behind the scenes trying to make stuff happen, from an art team to communications to having video people who are industry professionals who are just so down to do this, which
And spend over 200 hours.
and spend like several hundred hours just getting videos together.
Just for one project.
The audio team, which somehow is able to edit and mix together several hundred tracks all at once.
All in different spaces, different reverb.
Yeah. We were just using their phones. 600, if we got 600 recordings of iPhones,
We would make it work.
we'd make it work, but oh my God, it'd be difficult. All this to say that I realized, the point I was trying to make, I suppose, is that was able to connect all of these very disparate community orchestras. Has anyone here played in WMGSO or Baltimore GSO or anything? Awesome. Which one did you play in? Oh, I haven't even heard of that. Oh, BGS. Oh, Baltimore. Okay. Yeah, Baltimore GSO. I just misheard you. Sorry. Yeah. So Baltimore Gamer Symphony Orchestra, Washington Metro Gamer Symphony Orchestra, the GSO at University of Maryland, Rochester Institute of Technology, Ithaca College. Reno. Intermission, One Up Spartans here at San Jose State. There's all these groups, and I never knew about a single one of them because usually those communities are just localized to their own space. And I have to thank Michelle Eng, who started the University of Maryland Gamer Symphony Orchestra in 2005, who went around and tried finding all of these leaders of these different groups, getting them together to share arrangements, to share notes on how do you run these sort of groups. And without her and building that community of leaders beforehand, I wouldn't have been able to meet you. I wouldn't have been able to meet almost the rest of the executive directors, or probably 3/4 of the production teams. So it opened everyone's eyes to all these new collaboration opportunities. So now I've played in LA with my friend Jose. I played at MAGFest earlier this year, which was my first MAGFest, and it was awesome. I really enjoyed it. I was a sub in for Maryland GSO. I jammed with Jamin from Washington Metro. It was some of the most fun I ever had, and I'm so grateful that I'm able to see all these groups who I just would never have known about. And so one of my things that I'm looking to do now that my time in Virtual Video Game Orchestra is over is trying to connect these groups as much as I can and build a greater sense of community within that, because Twitch, it's a little easier. You're all in chat. On Discord, if you're in Discord communities, those seem really organic. But having these already established groups coming together, it's going to be interesting trying to find a way to do all of that. So for you, now that things are getting, quote unquote, back to normal, with heavy asterisks on that, where do you see virtual going? Like Virtual Video Game Orchestra going?
Hopefully, I don't want anything to change, because there's so much that can still be done, and not even just with localized groups all joining virtually. I'm pretty there have been some ideas being thrown around of like, well, what if we did actual video game music for composers, which we are doing later today, but to legitimately do like something on that scale, or to even bring the production level to something that includes so many more people from all over the globe. If it does change, I think it'll only just get better. It's not going anywhere. It might take, the scale might be a little bit bigger and probably less projects, but I think it'll allow more people to participate, and it's not going to be bounding to anybody for that matter.
It's a trade-off.
It's a trade-off, but I think it's worth it.
That's nice.
And I guess it goes for you. What's the future of bonus stage? Like what other stuff do you have in the pipeline? You can say.
Yeah. No, of course. I mean, bonus, like what's happening on Twitch was always kind of meant as a substitute for in-person shows, and at its very genesis in 2015, bonus stage was just like a local show in Vancouver put on by a bunch of different people in the local scene. We had like music and comedy and burlesque. Some of those don't translate to Twitch as well, so it's been mostly music over the Panini press. But I think going forward, like, I don't want it to necessarily go anywhere, but I also have been dreaming of adapting it back to live events and doing like some hybrid stuff, treating it as kind of like a broadcasting company feature or whatever. Just like, I felt what you were saying earlier, Nujj, about people reaching out and being like, hey, like I can't normally come to these kinds of events, for, financial reasons, like social reasons, neurodiversity and disabilities and stuff like that. Like, so I think there's still very much a need for people to do the work and to make this scene very accessible, because it's only made better by having everybody here. And so, yeah, I just want to continue doing the online stuff. I'm slowly starting to build my tech tree for for like making the hybrid thing a reality. Doing a little bit of an experiment in the jam space this weekend with that. We didn't quite get it going yesterday, but today from 1 to 4 we'll be hosting the jam space takeover day 2, and hopefully get that one live for the internet to enjoy as well, and just help people who couldn't be here to feel like they're still able to participate. And yeah, and then I don't know. We'll just keep it going. I'm not gonna say too much about like the big idea that I have, but it has something to do with a van. the bonus stage van might eventually be a real thing, and of course I want to do like bonus stage ultimate in person and stuff like that, and have an experience like that, a multi-day experience that people can enjoy in person and online, probably sometime in the late next year. So it's a lot of moving pieces to put together, so I'm just starting to put my feelers out and get the groundwork done for that. But yeah, just continuing on and really looking forward to getting back to some more in-person stuff.
Oh, hell yeah. I would like to take a moment now and mention a few other groups who are not represented on this panel, namely like Kent Ward from Virtua Ongaku, who runs events that are really similar to yours, where there were in-person events, and then they decided to shift online. I don't know exactly what the mechanics are there, though. That's my understanding of it. Yeah. VGM Con doing VGM Conline, as well as MAGWest, which founded a religion around you. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh man, I don't. Yeah. How? Okay, so Ben, can't recall his last name at the very moment, but no, I guess he just had a little bit of inspiration backstage and did some creative writing, and just they whipped up a page, magwest.org/Josh. If you want to go learn about that, it's basically Ben just like blowing smoke up my ass.
Excellent. Love that. I suppose, are there any questions? If you have any questions from the audience, there's a mic here, or you can speak loudly for any of us regarding any of the spaces that we foster, or anything else that you just want to ask. I see Brian's doing over a question.
Anytime.
I see you like stewing something.
No.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning, Brian.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I will admit I am pretty schlumped.
Oh, man. Yeah. I do want to also make sure that that Chris Allens gets a shout out as well. IQ. He did Bites and Beats Festival last year, and made a very intentional focus to highlight people of color, and I think that was really well done. He wasn't able to put one together this year, but I really love that guy and want to support what he does. So yeah, if that interests you, definitely go check out Bites, BYTES. AN Beats. They do really good stuff, and they're a valuable pillar in the community.
Hey, I mod for them too.
Oh yeah.
Nujj, who do you mod for? Like chronologically, alphabetically, doesn't matter. Like it's like, I guess, how many would you estimate? Because I don't understand what your schedule must be like if you have to throw that into a Google Calendar or something. Because I imagine
Sure, somewhere between 15 and 20.
Wow. Good grief. And it can't be easy. We have a question from the audience?
Yes, I have a question. This isn't specifically aimed at bonus stage, because I would like to hear from everyone, but the idea of a hybrid type of well, you're doing the stream and doing the hybrid. Maybe we'll see like Duels hybrid. Like, how are you, like, how does it look in your mind's eye that it would like exist as?
I guess kind of like, like if you watch a concert or an event on like MTV or something like that, right? Where you have like a couple of people there who are like hosts and just like broadcasting just the stream. There's people who are putting on the concert. Obviously, there's a crowd there. People can like feel the energy of the live event, and I mean that can be good for the event. It's also just good for the people at home who can't be at the event. I think it's just a good marketing and accessibility tool. That's how I see it.
For Dwelling of Duels, we've kind of had a hybrid event for years with our live listening party at MAGFest. Normally every month we just do a Twitch stream where we play all the music and people in chat can talk about it. But when we do an in-person event, we have all the people that are in the room, and then we have we stream it still while we're there. So we have our Twitch chat displayed on the screen here, and so people in the room will like log into Twitch and just be like heckling each other from the chat, really. And there's people who are in the Twitch chat, 3,000 miles away doing the same thing, like, oh, this snare sounds terrible, man. What are you doing? That's kind of the hybrid for us. But Josh, I almost forgot that you and I we put on Bonus Duels.
Bonus Duels.
Which was like a crossover event, bonus stage, and Dwelling of Duels, because we couldn't do our big yearly event for that. And
yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. We should think about doing that again.
Bonus Duels 2?
Bonus Tools.
Bonus Tools. Yeah.
What did you call me?
Well, for VGM Together, we are really committed to staying an online event. However, we actually did get into some interesting conversations this time of people who were saying, actually a performance I'm doing is overlapping almost with your event. Like maybe we could just stream our live event as one of your sets, which I'm not sure if we're going to do that this time, but that really made me interested. Like that would bring so much energy to that set. I think with the people in the audience, the people in the Twitch chat, I think it would be incredible to do something like that.
Yeah, that'd be electric. That'd be awesome. Yeah, for Virtual Video Game Orchestra, we've talked over the years of trying to get in the same vein as bringing together all these different communities of local video game orchestras and large ensembles, bringing them together. We've had this idea of doing a live event, like an orchestra summit, bringing together all these different people doing something like a music festival, having either each of these groups playing their own sets, having panels, having something similar to that, similar to what you're seeing here, but then culminating in a grand concert with everyone together, having rehearsed everything in their own spots, and then coming together for this gargantuan ensemble. I mean, some of these groups are massive, like at the 150 to 200 person range. And so imagining that we can even get some people from here, some people from there, I think that would be absolutely nuts. To do that kind of a live event. But with that, trying to hybridize that.
It's such a grand scale.
Yeah, it's such a huge thing on its own. But since Virtual Video Game Orchestra started online, since it has its home literally there and in no physical location of any kind, there's got to be some way. I was thinking of doing something like one of those album jams that have been done. We host these we do these community-led albums that we call our mixtapes. So the summer mixtape, we are doing roughly 3 of those a year, and it's just people want to host a track. They get people together, make it happen.
And then you just get a recording on one iPhone.
Yeah. Then you get a recording on one iPhone, but then you have to figure out, oh God, you have all these on one iPhone? Good God. Somehow I think that's just worse. But in any case, I'm really impressed by VGM Con's album jams, how they've been able to bridge that gap between having an in-person make an album in 2 or 3 days, and now being able to do that in this online space where you can totally break boundaries, break borders, and work literally around the clock. I remember from the first one, the arrangers were in, well, there was one arranger in the UK, one in North America somewhere, and one in Asia, and they shouldn't all three have been awake at the same time. Sometimes they were, because it's like 8 hours apart each. But whenever one was like, I'm going to bed, the other one would be like, okay, we'll pick this up. And it was this really interesting, kind of cogwheel effect where it's like, you're dovetailing all the production that's being done. I just thought it was really impressive. And you couldn't, I think it would be much harder to do that with an in-person event only. So that might be something for virtual in the future if we can swing that, but there is no date or time that we are thinking of right now, because currently we need more people. We need more people to get involved. And one of the big initiatives for the executive directors, I guess suppose in my wake, is that we want to engage all these really, or we want to engage all, we want to engage people who are otherwise disengaged, figure out how to do that, just so that they feel like they're really a part of something and take ownership of that. And then for the people who are already enthusiastic, empower them, enable them to use the skills that they have and for the community and for good, not just for themselves, but also for others. And to, and I guess, push the limits of what we could make all together. So I guess that would be how we might try doing in person and an online thing at the same time. Certainly everything would be streamed, but man, that's like scratching the surface.
Let's sort that out right now, actually. We got time.
We got time. Well, it is 9:59. Are there any other questions? Yes, go ahead. Oh yeah. So I guess really quickly, what are we all doing for the rest of the con? Where can people find us at the con?
Oh yeah. So the only other thing I've got happening is 4:30 today is the Dwelling of Duels listening party we did a special duel for MAGWest. So you'll get to hear 15 brand new VGM songs. They're all from Sega Dreamcast games. We got things like House of the Dead and Sonic Adventure, etc. That's at 4:30 to 6. You'll get to vote in person with us, and it's a fun time just to hear some new tunes. And then hanging out. I'm hanging out here till Sunday. And if you want to find us on Twitter or Insta or all that stuff, it's at Dwelling of Duels. We have a Facebook page too, but that doesn't really get as much engagement, so we don't really update that. I'm at Katajun Music on Twitter. And yeah.
I'm not doing anything else at the con, but please come say hi to me. Hi. I was actually thinking about it while we were talking up here, and I think for me, the reason that these virtual spaces are so important is because we've built all these communities based on not where we live, but who we are and what we love. And I was looking out here, and almost every single row, including this one, there's somebody that I consider like a really close friend, or sometimes even like family, and I haven't met any of them before this weekend. And to me, that is why these virtual spaces are so important. So please, if you know who I am, if you don't, come introduce yourself, say hi, and I don't know, I think our community is something really special.
Yeah, I totally agree. That was really, that hit me. Okay. So for Virtual Video Game Orchestra, in the next room now,
Well, hour and a half.
well, in an hour and a half, but now we're going to start setting up for the MAGWest Orchestra. Later today at 3:30, there's a panel with a lot of leaders of different in-person video game music large ensembles, like those orchestras that I was mentioning. So that's at 3:30. And then what else? Tomorrow we have a sight reading session at 3:30 as well. Am I missing something? Oh yeah. We have a table in the marketplace. Please, if you want to help support us and get some really cool merch out of it, Bestest Cat has made a lot of merch. So go check out our table and help support us and them. So and then you can find Virtual Video Game Orchestra online. We have vvgo.org, but we go by VVGo. I forget exactly why.
You know why you made it.
We have a QR code at the table that you can scan and get on absolutely everything. We have a card.com.
Yeah. So there's a QR code at the table to see all the stuff that we've made, and if you want to get involved in our community. I'm Ranja_ on Twitch. So if you see me in chat, I'm usually speaking in all caps with spaces in between.
Yeah.
So easy to find me.
You know you took that from me, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Nice.
Yeah, because I think it started with your name in all caps with spaces between, and then I just ran with it.
Nice.
I still love how Jer always uses the modulator to say your name.
Yeah.
Nice.
I use the reverb when you say my name.
Totally normal.
And then, we've just got the bonus stage Jam Space Takeover. It's in the Jam Space where we're taking it over, and we've got 3 hours of music, 4 acts. So that's where I'll be this afternoon, and other than that, I'm chilling. Come say hi.
Sweet. Well, thank you so
band,
much.
Josh. Play more rock band tonight. Yeah.
You can also catch him at magwest.org/Josh. Thanks so much, everyone, for coming to this panel, and enjoy the rest of your convention.
Yeah. Thank you.